At the beginning of the story, we are introduced to a powerful superhero named Bob, whose superhero identity is Mr. Incredible. He is incredibly strong and one of the most famous heroes in the city. Alongside him is another superhero, Frozone, who has the ability to control ice, and Elastigirl, who can stretch her body in unbelievable ways. Bob and Elastigirl are deeply in love and are about to get married. During this time, Bob is always one step ahead of the police, reaching crime scenes before anyone else and helping people whenever there's trouble. One day, while Bob is chasing down some criminals, a small kid suddenly jumps into his car. The child excitedly tells Bob that he's his biggest fan and wants to fight villains alongside him. But Bob calmly tells the kid that he's still too young and drops him off, asking him to stay out of danger. However, the boy refuses to give up. He keeps showing up around Bob, hoping to become his sidekick. Soon after, a massive robbery takes place in the city. Bob arrives to stop the thief, but once again, that same kid appears. The child doesn't have real superpowers, but he has built flying gadgets that allow him to soar through the air. He wants to help Bob, but Bob shuts him down, saying he works alone and doesn't need anyone's help. Hurt by this rejection, the kid starts to leave, but suddenly, the villain secretly attaches a bomb to the child's suit. The kid has no idea. When Bob realizes what's happening, he rushes after him and manages to pull the bomb off just in time. The bomb falls onto the railway tracks, destroying them. A train is heading straight toward disaster. Bob uses every ounce of his strength to stop the train and save the passengers. Although he succeeds, the villain escapes. That very night, Bob and Elastigirl finally get married. Sometime later, Bob saves a man who is trying to commit suicide. Surprisingly, the man is furious instead of grateful and files a lawsuit against Bob for interfering. At the same time, people injured during the train incident also sue him. Slowly, public opinion turns against superheroes. People begin blaming them for destruction instead of thanking them. Eventually, the government steps in and bans all superheroes. From now on, they are no longer allowed to use their powers in public and must live secretly. The movie then jumps 15 years into the future. To help former superheroes survive, the government creates a special organization that helps them find normal jobs. Through this program, Bob gets a job at an insurance company. But Bob is clearly unhappy. He's constantly scolded by his boss and feels trapped in a boring life. Now Bob has a family. One day, Elastigirl receives a call from their son Dash's school, saying he caused serious trouble for his teacher. We are also introduced to their daughter Violet, whose powers allow her to turn invisible and create force fields. When Bob comes home, Elastigirl confronts him at the dinner table, asking why he never talks to the kids or tries to guide them. She complains that Dash is misbehaving at school again. Bob ignores the conversation and walks away. Soon, Dash and Violet start fighting, and Elastigirl asks Bob to stop them. Around the same time, Frozone shows up, and Bob leaves the house with him, as the two often hang out together. Even though they're no longer superheroes, they still can't ignore trouble. When they hear about a building on fire, they rush in to help people escape, but this good deed quickly backfires. While rescuing civilians, they enter a jewelry store, and the police arrive. Mistaking them for thieves, the police move in. Frozone freezes the officers using his powers, and Bob escapes. When Bob returns home, Elastigirl is furious. She reminds him that superheroes are banned and asks why he keeps helping people if he's not supposed to use his powers. Bob responds emotionally, saying that helping people is their duty. If they don't do it, who will? Dash and Violet overhear the argument. Bob notices them and quickly covers it up, telling them that he and their mom were just talking. The next day at work, Bob's boss yells at him yet again. At that very moment, Bob sees a thief outside, robbing someone in broad daylight. Instinctively, Bob tries to rush out to help, but his boss stops him and orders him to stay put. That's when Bob completely loses his temper. In a moment of rage, Bob grabs his boss by the collar and throws him. Because of Bob's incredible strength, his boss crashes through multiple walls and lands far away, badly injured with broken bones. Soon after, a government officer confronts Bob and tells him that his job is officially over. He asks Bob why he keeps doing things like this and how long they're supposed to keep covering for him. Now Bob is on his own. Bob is deeply troubled. Without a job, he may have to move to another city just to survive. Later that day, while checking his mail, Bob finds a strange package. Inside, there's a tablet displaying a message from a woman named Mirage. Mirage explains that her organization has created a powerful robot, but its abilities have become far too extreme. The robot is now out of control and causing massive destruction on a remote island. They need Bob's help. If he succeeds, they promise to pay him 3 times his annual salary. Bob lies to Elastigirl, telling her that he's going out for office work. He then calls Mirage and accepts the mission. The scene shifts to a private jet, where Bob and Mirage are traveling to the island. Mirage warns him that the robot is incredibly expensive and highly intelligent. The more Bob fights it, the more the robot will analyze and copy his moves. She advises him to shut it down as quickly as possible and escape. Bob is dropped onto the island inside a small transport droid, but since Bob hasn't exercised in years, he's gained a lot of weight and gets stuck inside the pod. Frustrated, he breaks his way out. Soon, Bob begins searching for the robot. Suddenly, the robot attacks him. Bob fights back with everything he has, but the robot is completely out of control and nearly kills him. At the last moment, Bob manages to damage its system, causing the robot to turn on itself and destroy itself. Bob successfully completes the mission. As a reward, Bob is invited to dinner, where Mirage hints that more missions like this may come in the future. Bob is thrilled. He's finally using his powers again, earning good money, and spending quality time with his family. Motivated, Bob starts exercising heavily and soon gets back into his old superhero shape. One day, Bob notices that his old superhero suit has torn slightly. He decides to visit his legendary suit designer, Edna Mode. Bob tells her he just wants the suit repaired, but Edna refuses, saying he can't wear something so outdated. Instead, she insists on making him a brand new suit. Meanwhile, back at home, Elastigirl is organizing clothes when she realizes Bob's suit is missing. At the same time, Bob receives another call from Mirage about a new mission. Elastigirl overhears the conversation and questions Bob, but he avoids answering and drives away. Bob travels with Mirage to another island, where she takes him to a secret facility. She tells him to rest and says he'll be briefed about the mission at 2 o'clock. Back home, Elastigirl finds Bob's torn suit and immediately calls Edna. Without even listening to the full story, Edna invites Elastigirl over to show her the new suits she has designed. Meanwhile, Bob waits on the island for the meeting. Suddenly, the gates open and a massive robot appears in front of him. But this time, someone else is standing beside it. It's the same kid from 15 years ago, the boy Bob once scolded and sent away. The grown-up man reveals his anger and pain, telling Bob that being rejected that day changed his life. He decided never to depend on anyone again. Instead, he built deadly gadgets and sold them, becoming rich and powerful. He now believes he's strong enough to defeat even superheroes. His name is Syndrome. Syndrome attacks Bob and throws him far away, sending him crashing into the water. But Syndrome doesn't stop there. He follows Bob to finish the job. To escape, Bob jumps off a massive waterfall. Syndrome drops bombs after him, trying to kill him, but Bob narrowly survives and manages to hide inside a cave. Inside the cave, Bob makes a shocking discovery. He learns that Syndrome is responsible for killing many other superheroes, including some of Bob's old teammates. Believing Bob is dead, Syndrome leaves the area. Meanwhile, Elastigirl meets Edna. Edna proudly shows her the new superhero suits she has designed for the entire family. Each suit is customized based on the unique powers of the kids. Edna explains that these suits can handle anything, running at extreme speed, turning invisible, creating force fields, or even surviving fire. Back on the island, Bob survives and sneaks back to Syndrome's base. Moving carefully, he reaches a secure room with a massive screen protected by a password. What he sees there completely breaks him. Syndrome has recorded data proving that every superhero except Bob's family and Frozone has been hunted down and killed one by one. At the same time, Elastigirl grows increasingly worried. She has no idea where Bob is or what danger he's in. Edna then reveals that she installed a tracking device inside Bob's suit. Using a remote, Elastigirl activates it to locate Bob. But the moment the signal turns on, alarms are triggered at Syndrome's base. Automated weapons lock onto Bob and begin attacking him. Elastigirl now realizes that Bob is in serious trouble. She quickly packs her suit and prepares to leave. But just then, her kids notice what's happening and question her. Edna urgently contacts one of her connections and requests a jet. Soon, Elastigirl is flying toward the island in a jet following Bob's signal. Unknown to her, both Dash and Violet have secretly stowed away on the plane, leaving the youngest child behind with a babysitter. As they approach the island, Elastigirl informs the control center that this is a government jet and that children are on board, asking them not to attack. But Syndrome hears this, and without hesitation, orders the jet to be fired upon. Elastigirl urgently tells Violet to create a force field around the plane. Violet panics and fails to do it in time. Missiles strike the jet, causing explosions mid-air. At the last moment, Elastigirl manages to save her children, and all three fall into the ocean below. Back on the island, Bob, furious and desperate, manages to grab Syndrome. Mirage intervenes and pulls Syndrome aside. Bob grabs Mirage instead and threatens Syndrome, saying he'll kill her if Syndrome doesn't let him go. Shockingly, Syndrome shows no hesitation. He coldly tells Bob to go ahead and kill her. He doesn't care. Bob realizes that he can't do it. Meanwhile, Elastigirl transforms her body into a boat to escape the ocean, using Dash's speed to move faster. They reach the island and hide inside a cave. There, Elastigirl tells her children that she needs to find their father. She makes them promise that if any danger comes their way, they will use their powers and protect each other. Elastigirl sneaks toward the lab but gets trapped at the entrance. She fights off the guards, knocks them out, and escapes with an access card. Elsewhere, Dash is exploring the cave when he realizes something terrifying. A massive blast of heat is about to be released. He quickly grabs Violet and runs outside. They witness a rocket launching, releasing all its heat through the cave. The kids escape into the forest just in time. Back at the base, Mirage frees Bob. In anger, Bob grabs her by the throat, but Mirage tells him the truth. His family is still alive. Just then, Elastigirl arrives. Now Bob and Elastigirl realize that their children are in danger. Without wasting a second, they rush toward the jungle to save them. On the other side, Dash and Violet are spotted by Syndrome's Syndrome's guards. These guards fly dangerous attack vehicles and immediately begin chasing the kids. With no other choice left, Dash and Violet finally start using their powers. Dash runs at incredible speed, so fast that he even runs across the surface of water. Soon, Bob and Elastigirl find their children, but before they can escape, Syndrome arrives and captures all 4 of them using his advanced gadgets. He reveals his master plan. He has already sent a massive robot into the city. The robot is controlled only by his remote. Syndrome proudly declares that he will now become the world's greatest hero by saving the city himself, because according to him, all real superheroes are already dead. Just when everything seems hopeless, Violet uses her powers and creates a force field, allowing the entire family to break free. Now they need a way to reach the city, but there's no jet available. That's when Mirage steps in and offers to help, telling them she can send them to the city using a rocket. Back in the city, Frozone sees the giant robot rampaging through the streets, destroying everything in its path. Syndrome arrives as well, pretending to save civilians and acting like a hero, but suddenly the robot turns on him. During the chaos, Syndrome drops his remote, and the robot throws him far away. At that moment, the Incredibles arrive in the city using the rocket. The robot attacks Dash and Violet and is about to crush them, but Bob jumps in at the last second and saves his kids. Bob begins fighting the robot, but he quickly realizes that he can't defeat it by strength alone. Bob spots the remote and remembers that Syndrome was controlling the robot with it. He grabs the remote, but the robot attacks again, knocking it out of his hands. Bob throws the remote toward Dash, but the robot attacks Dash too. Just in time, Frozone arrives and saves Dash. Together, they try to control the robot using the remote, but it still doesn't stop. That's when Bob realizes the truth. The robot can only be destroyed by its own hands. Elastigirl quickly acts. She presses a button that causes the robot's damaged arm to strike directly into its own body. A massive hole is created, and the robot collapses into the water, completely destroyed. The people of the city finally realize that superheroes are still alive, and they're always ready to protect everyone. The government organization officially welcomes the superheroes back, and promises to make up for everything they lost in the past. But the story isn't over yet. Syndrome is still alive. He suddenly appears at the Incredibles' house and kidnaps the youngest member of the family, Jack-Jack. That's when the truth is revealed. Jack-Jack has multiple powers and can transform into anything. Jack-Jack gives Syndrome so much trouble that he loses control and drops the baby. Bob throws Elastigirl into the air, and she catches Jack-Jack safely. Bob then throws a car at Syndrome's jet, destroying it. Syndrome gets trapped in the jet's engine and is killed in a massive explosion. The crashing jet falls toward the family, but Violet creates a protective shield and saves everyone. 3 months later, Dash finally gets to participate in a sports event. Suddenly, another giant robot appears, threatening the city once again. The Incredibles smile, put on their masks, and prepare for action. Sometimes, being different isn't a curse, it's a gift. The Incredibles remind us that real heroes aren't perfect. They're brave, they protect their family, and they never give up. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because every hero's journey is better when we're in it together.